Now that it there, welcome to 5 Star Sound Labs.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? I caught you off guard, huh? So here we are. Let's wait for a couple people to come on in. So here we are today. Thank you for joining me. And we're just waiting for a few people to join. I know we got a people around the way. We're inviting. I know you told them 4:30. So talk to me. What have you been up to today?
Today's been a day of a lot of phone calls this morning, helping out some troubled merchants clear their pens, working on a few approvals. Got quite a large, interesting opportunity in the travel sector this morning. So it's a good Tuesday so far. Good way to start off the week. How about you, man?
Same old, same old. Just trucking along, doing my thing. Tough day. Just plugging. It's one of those things
I could
where,
tell you. I could tell you were out hustling today. You were very quiet.
yeah, for sure. Today was one of those days. I guess we're just wait for the invites to come trolling in, and we can go on ahead and get moving. But with that said, uh, one of the things that I got to tell you is yesterday's podcast was pretty interesting. I've got a lot of feedback, a lot of people, chimed in, which I got to tell you I appreciate. Um, what about your feedback? What did you get?
I got some great feedback. I had a few people off LinkedIn message me. A bunch of my other agents were watching. Um, Said it was great. I feel like an internet celebrity. AJ, thank you so much.
Stop, stop, stop. So listen, one of the few things that I got to tell you is it's interesting that a lot of people didn't know about the new Visa ramp rules. I had a couple people reach out. They were like, "Is that stuff real?" I was like, "No, we just make it up for the podcast."
Jay, we wish we were making it up for a podcast.
That's
Our
what I
lives would be
told
way
them.
easier.
That's what I told them. I says, "Lord, man, if I had a dollar for every time somebody asked me if that was real." But no, for real. Moving on, I guess like there are more interesting topics in our world. One of the things that this topic coming up today. As you guys all may know, I'm AJ Rodriguez, host of the Wolf of Smoke Street podcast, powered by Expedio Payments and Merchant Service Depot today. Everybody, we welcome back. We have uh, Pete from Merchant Service Depot with us. We did a show last night. It actually went pretty good, as we were discussing before the podcast started. Pete is a deep compliance officer in the trenches, and he'd like to share a lot more with us as of today. Yesterday's Vamp was spectacular, a lot of information. One of the things that I got to tell you, this new Texas SB 2024 for Texas CBD merchants, and not only that, but vape shops in general. Uh, Thanks for being here, Pete.
Well, thank you, my man. It's always a pleasure to speak to the Wolf of Smoke Street.
So it's a really important moment for Texas realtors. So I'm glad we're talking about it now. Now, exactly because uh, one of the things as of September 1st, things are changing big time. Texas dropped the SB 2024 on the table. And if I got to be honest with you, if you're not ready, you're going to be burnt. Pete, break it down for us. What is the law and what does it actually do as far as affecting the merchants?
Sure. So it's an interesting law to say the least. This is kind of one of those things where a big group hires a bunch of lobbyists. This bill was actually lobbied by I believe it was the Texas Distillers Association. Let's just say since they made CBD and stuff legal in Texas, alcohol sales have kind of tanked. So those guys don't like that. They've got some deep pockets, and that's kind of why this bill is here. So SB 2024, basically what it does in Texas is that it bans the marketing, offering for sale, and selling a wide array of vapes, cannabinoid products in Texas, or you might not be in Texas, but you may ship to Texas, and that's where you really have to be careful. Basically, products that have CBD, Delta 8, any kind of THC derivatives, a lot of disposable devices, and even certain devices that are manufactured overseas. People come over here, slap their white label on it. It covers kind of a wide array of products, to be honest with you.
So if you're that shop owner thinking, "Hey, they won't come after me," they will. Trust me. You don't want that state of Texas knocking at your door over some Delta 8 cartridge.
Exactly, and it's a newer bill, so we've seen a lot of reactions to it, and some accounts get closed. Some people have to pause their sales to redo their website checkout process, but they are some pretty serious penalties in the law. These are actually treated as a Class A misdemeanor in Texas, so that's fines, and after a certain point, it does say that there's even jail time. Who knows if they're locking people up over this, but the most important thing about it, it's really not about possessing it. It's about, do you sell and or market these products to the state of Texas, to consumers that live in Texas.
Well, I guess what you're saying is they exposed themselves to criminal penalties, and payment processors are freezing accounts. And we all know payment processors love to freeze money. Now,
Oh, they love it, bro. We deal with that day in and day out, don't we?
nothing gets them more excited than them freezing and holding money for 6 months just to review compliance.
Yeah, always a happy phone call to be on, right?
So, for the smoke shops down in Houston, or that e-commerce guy in Dallas selling disposables, or outside the state selling disposables to customers in Texas, I guess my question is, what's the short-term picture?
Well, I mean, kind of the shortest term is that their revenue is going to drop, right? They have a bunch of products that they're selling right now, or they were pre September 1st, and now they're unable to do that. You know, things like at your checkout process, blocking Texas addresses, help. What it really comes down to is managing your SKUs and where can those be sent to. Um, for these guys, a lot of stores make their money on the disposable and pre-filled. That's a massive profit center for those. And if those SKUs are gone overnight, that's really going to mess up your revenue model. On top of that, you're also going to face kind of inventory write-offs. You have to retrain your staff, maybe change your supplier contracts, and maybe even issue some refunds, things like that. This is for the average CBD vape e-commerce merchant. It's definitely something that you really need to pay attention to.
So, basic chaos.
Yeah, when when is this industry not chaos, right? But it definitely can feel like that. We've already seen it. We've had a couple owners that have dropped like 20%, 20 to 30% of their processing volume in the last 2 weeks. There was one retailer in Carrollton, Texas that we had that literally had to pull a couple $1,000s of products off their shelves on September 1st. Like, this was hey, it's 8:31. You better get this done by tomorrow, right? Another shop in Bryant literally cleared about $2,000 of vapes in a single afternoon just to comply. And he sent me a picture of his store, and half the shelves are empty right now. It's not a good look.
That's got to be brutal. And you know what's happening next? Customers don't just know it, but their products disappear. Then they go find them somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you might, the carts are one thing. Maybe they still keep the battery sales if they're selling the portable vape batteries. But kind of the bad thing about it is there's no carts, so people source them elsewhere, illegally. That's the risk. The demand doesn't go away; it just kind of shifts into that gray or black market, whatever you want to call it. And unfortunately, the good guys that are being compliant, they're the ones that are paying the price and suffering for it.
Well, meanwhile, the good guys, trying to follow the rules go down bleeding, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a tough spot to be in. We've got a couple really large ones that are wholesalers, and those guys are struggling because they just lost everything in Texas at the wholesale level. Um, for your down chain merchant though, and even these wholesalers, you make the right adjustments, you can stabilize the business. Really, the key to, in my view, AJ, the key to this compliance is to do a couple quick things like figure out which SKUs are banned. Do you even know what in your products you can't sell? Are you aware of that? Check your SKU list, compare it to the law. And obviously, Expedio, your company is wonderful at doing that. I know you've got a whole compliance checklist and a 14-day rollout to solve all these problems for your merchants. Um, but things like geo blocking, notifying your processor, your sales partner of the compliance steps, that kind of documentation can help you not get a reserve, not get a hold. Um, and these guys can even pivot into products that are legal to sell in Texas, like tinctures, topicals, other type of CBD products.
So just don't sit there crying over disposables. Switch lanes.
Well said, Wolf. And it's products on one side, but the other part of it is the payments, right? So, maybe putting things like age verification, some fraud controls, and even like alternative payment rails like ACH can help you reduce the risk and keep the revenue flowing to the merchants.
So what about the bigger picture? I heard processors like Square have already started shutting down these merchants for selling legal CBD.
Yeah, I mean, Square. You said a naughty word right there, my friend. Um, I would say, I would say that's absolutely happening. Square has had quite a history with CBD. They kind of flop back and forth. The last couple of years, they've seemed more stable on it. But from what I understand, a lot of these payment processors, especially if it's not one that's more kind of geared to the vape CBD smoke shop world, they might just shut you down. Then, hey, I looked at their website, 50% of their products can't be the stuff in Texas. We don't even want to deal with that headache. This account doesn't make us enough money to even call the merchant. That's how these banks think. It's a quick decision. Um, that's where a good sales partner like yourself comes in to bring that compliance in, take an overwhelming task for these guys. I mean, business owners, AJ, what's the one thing they don't have any of? Time to do this stuff. So,
And
that's kind of where a good partner comes in.
and shipping, customers are still getting vapes delivered, right?
Yeah. So, ironically, it's still legal for a Texan to buy vapes online from an out of state site and then have them shipped in. We have a national brand that's actually running a promotion like Texas banned discounts. There are, there's always some devoted entrepreneurs in this world that, it's like prison. It's a mother of invention. They figure out a way to make it work for them. And we're seeing a lot of that. That's why the local guys in Texas, they're almost double losing, because they can't sell it. And a guy that's 20 miles across the border, that's his competitor, not in Texas, can sell it. So people leave. People are going to go get these things.
So the bottom line is if you're a Texas shop and you're watching your customers walk out the door and order the same stuff from, across state lines, what do they do?
Well, I mean, that's well said, man. That's definitely the issue. The local guys really need to make a change now. Um, I've seen a couple stores adapt pretty well to it. Their volume went down. They made a couple pivots, went right back up. They started pushing the edibles, tinctures, dry herb vaporizers are actually okay to do, and U.S. made refill systems. These banks tend to not like the offshore refill systems. It's not as profitable as the disposable ones because that's the moneymaker, but it keeps cash flowing, keeps customers coming back in and buying alternative products.
Okay, so let's wrap this up for everyone listening. If you got three choices: ignore the law, keep selling, and eventually get fined, shut down, or worse; panic, clear your shelves, and hope for the best; or actually take smart steps to adapt, stay legal, and keep money coming in. And that's where we come in.
Exactly, and I know at Expedio, you guys do a great job helping the merchants with these compliant audits. The geofencing at the checkout. You've got the 14-day program where you've told me about it before. Um, I think that's a great thing to implement because you just take it off their plates for them, man. That was a really good idea.
Great. Well, if you want to know more about the laws changing in Texas, feel free to check out the link in the bio and feel free to DM us if you have any questions. Again, uh, thanks for coming by and sharing that wealth of knowledge that you have. We appreciate you and MSD coming by and helping us out, getting on the board here and getting some podcasts done. We appreciate all your support. Um, as of this point, a lot of people don't realize that Texas is one of those states that you do not want to play around in, no matter where you are actually in. May you be out of the state or in the state doing business, no matter what type of business, you always got to pay attention to regulatory rules and regulations in the state of Texas. Again, that law you may want to check out if you're in the merchant industry or if you're in the CBD industry or any type of cannabis related. In the state of Texas, the law you're going to want to look up is Texas SB 2024. So, Pete, anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
I would just kind of reiterate what you just said, AJ. It was well said. The bottom line on SB 2024 is that it is real. Texas is not playing games. If you're a CBD or vape merchant in Texas, you got to get your compliance game tight right now. You don't want to get behind that 8 ball. If I can say anything on this podcast, reach out to Expedia if you are a merchant that's concerned. The Wolf knows all about Smoke Street.
Oh man, that's so dope. Thank you for that, brother. Thank you. And guys, once
Thank
again,
you, my friend.
we are trying to make a weekly run at this. We are going to be coming back next week. We don't have the topic yet. However, we are looking for any possible input on anything that you guys may be able to help us out with or bring to the forefront of things that you guys want us to talk about. Feel free to DM us or email us. Again, my name is AJ Rodriguez with the Wolf of Smoke Street, sponsored by Expedio Payments and MST Merchant Service.